Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about my time with Assassin's Creed Valhalla so far. And so far I've put in 60 hours into the game. So far I'm coming towards the end of the Kent section of the story. And I've completed the first section of Asgard. So this video will act as like a mid-game review of my experience so far. Just to touch on the story first, the game is set in 1873 during the Vikings' invasion of Britain, and it takes player take control of a Viking named Ivar, who was caught up in between a battle between the Hidden Ones and the Templars, all while trying to craft out a new life for themselves and the clan in Britain. So far I found the story to be quite strong but repetitive, especially with the world. It seems no matter what you do in one area, it can be so familiar that it feels like you're doing the exact same in another. And what I mean by this is that your goal is to form alliances with other kingdoms across Britain. And by doing this, the most common way is to do a siege and overthrow the reigning king of the area. With this point aside, so far what I found to be the strongest element is characters and character development. Evo I found to be such a strong lead for the series. In particular, I'm currently playing as the male version, and the voice acting I find fantastic. Characters like Ivar I found to be more embracing, as they feel more like comic relief than more villain or anti-hero. The relationship between Sigurd and Ivar I found to be very endearing. However, with Sigurd's change, it seems to come out of nowhere, especially very early on into the story. And with this, it feels like you know what it's going to set up to towards the end. So this game's continued to follow the RPG trends which saw Origins introduce and Odyssey expand on. With Valhalla, however, the most prominent I've saw so far being the skill tree, with over 300 skills to acquire. With each unlocked skill, your power level increases, and you're able to put skill points into stat boosts such as light combat, heavy combat, ranged, etc. And the skills that you do acquire I'm finding to be very lagging. It's something that I'm just not using during the game. The game continues to use the trope of when you level up, so does your enemies. Something which was introduced into Odyssey, and it makes us miss the feeling of just being overpowered and going back to an area to complete whatever open world event I have left. With this curve, it just doesn't bring any depth that I found. Combat overall can be very samey, no matter what part of the map you're in. Your easiest enemy's going to be 3 hits no matter what. And just to use the Sister of Liaison, which is the lowest power level for example, you're only doing a slightly bit more damage at power level 200 than what you were doing at power level 90 to her. One of the best parts of the franchise is the stealth feature. However, I found it very pointless in Valhalla. Being able to use your bird now and mark every enemy is gone, and it's more favoured for using your eagle vision. And more often than not I found myself with stealth failing. Although I tend to try and go out and clear out every base silently, it's just too easy to get into conflicts. And this would fit with the Viking narrative, however it doesn't really fit with the Hidden Ones narrative. Combat this time around is based on an adrenaline meter. It's quite a new change and it feels like it gives the combat very much importance. Now making you think about each move that you do instead of just charging in and spamming buttons. Side questing's been given a massive overhaul to Valhalla from Odyssey this year. It's something which is welcome but can also be a nightmare at the same time. Especially if you missed a key bit of dialogue, and now all of a sudden that character's written 20 miles away and you've got no idea why. And there's no on-screen prompt to tell you what you have to do, other than if you miss something to go away and come back later, and hopefully it'll still be there. However, I've encountered a few problems with side quests, especially in Asgard, such as the boar hunt where I missed where the people that you meant to follow went. I tried to fast travel back to the centre of the map and go back over to the area, but when I got there was just no one there, so I had to go try and find the men, which I eventually done and was able to do it. But side quests can be mostly broken in the game, especially if you do something a bit early that you're not supposed to, which I've encountered so far on 2 occasions. The first in Asgard, where I went to try and do each side quest before I started the main story in that part. And when I moved a few of the things, to let the cow out, and it wouldn't move later on when I came back to that area post-story. The cow was stuck on the thing I moved, and it just wouldn't get off the same spot. Also, I've had a few problems with London. A side quest in particular which says you help a guy get out from a shop which he's stuck in. If you pre-move them barriers before you've completed the story section of London, then vases will just get stuck under them. And even if you destroy them, then you can't move the thing any further. And the guy won't move until the full thing's cleared. And this isn't great for me, as I tend to do all the open world events before I even touch the story part of the map. Side quests overall are quite enjoyable. They've mainly jumped into the crazy this year with them, especially when trying to make a guy take a bath and giving a woman a couple of eggs to use while she's in jail. And it wouldn't be a Ubisoft game if it didn't include a few Easter eggs as well. Shout out to the Winnie the Pooh quest for that. The open world I found to be very beautiful, especially with the use of colours. It feels very much like autumn in Britain. There's plenty of reds and greens all around. It's very appeasing to the eye. Traversing the world just feels like a slug. One thing that I've never liked in the Assassin's Creed games is driving the boat, and I've always found it to be the weakest part of the game. And in Valhalla, it feels like the worst it's ever been. Especially because you're riding it around tight waterways, so you instantly lose any momentum that you have, and it just feels very uncontrollable. But it is pretty badass riding on the back of a giant wolf. So for final thoughts, I absolutely love this game, and I'm very excited to see where the story's going to take us. Combat feels comfy but strict, and I'm finding it's trying to be a happy balance between the new RPG Assassin's Creed games and the old school stealth games. And if I had to score it so far, it'd be an 8 for my experience with the game. And anyways guys, if you've enjoyed this video, drop a like and leave a comment about how you found the game. And I'll see you on the next one.